are going to begin by hiding one of our eyebrows, and the side that you choose to do this is going to be the side that is the Frankenbabe, and the other side is going to be the normal and beauty side, so choose now. Grab your paints. I'm using the NYX SFX Creme colours for this. You want to start by creating the very basic shapes of the sections. All the products will be listed in the description box below if you'd like to check that out later. I'm using creamy paints because I feel like this is really nice and easy to blend, and they have a really nice, beautiful, strong pigment. Grabbing the yellow, I'm just creating the outline of the shape first. And because I'm such a professional, I'm using my finger to fill it in. So I'm using a variation of the yellow and the greens as well. And I'm using my finger just to kind of blend the colours within each other. Grabbing some white, I'm using a beauty blender and I'm just going to apply this underneath my eye. This is going to create kind of like highlight. So I'm moving on to the next part of my face already, and instead I'm using a lot more green this time instead of yellow, just to create a bit of variation. And then for the outer edge I'm using a yellow, and I'm just using my finger once again to blend them together. So my intentions when creating each section is to create them so that they're really different from each other. Some will be more green, some will be more yellow, and they'll just have different variations of the way they're blended. This is just going to create a bit more of an interesting feel. So for the next section I'm actually using a pink this time. This is just going to make it a bit more interesting rather than the entire Frankenbabe just be green, and it's just kind of the same principle. So I'm just painting the really base colour, and then I'm using a white and I'm just applying this on the more central areas of the section. This is going to almost create kind of like a highlight and make it look a little bit more 3D and realistic. And again, you want to use your finger and just really blend a lot. You want to dab as much as you can to get a smooth transition. So you just want to keep doing this and repeating the same steps and just start creating different sections. As you can see on my forehead, I've created a dark green one this time. So as you can see, I've left some gaps in between each section, and this is going to make this step much easier. I'm just grabbing a paintbrush and some red, and I'm just applying some red in between the sections. Please ignore the fact that I've rubbed out some areas that look like stitches. I was just testing to see what it looked like. Next, I'm grabbing the NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, and I'm using this because it's got a really nice thick consistency, which is perfect for applying eyeshadow, and this will also blend perfectly into the SFX Creme colours. So I'm just going to apply this onto my eyelid and blend it out nicely. And then grabbing some eyeliner or some black face paint, I'm starting to create an eyebrow. So this eyebrow is beginning where my natural brow starts, and then I'm arching it really high up so it looks kind of angry and evil. So I'm just creating a really thin brow for now, and then I'm just building up the shape slowly. I've then added 2 lines on the end of the brow. Moving on to the eyeshadow, I'm grabbing the NYX Ultimate Brights Eyeshadow Palette, and I'm just using an angled brush and I'm just sketching out the really basic shape of the cut crease. And then I'm going in with a normal eyeshadow brush and I'm starting to pack on the pigment. Try not to get any pigment underneath the line you created. Take your time and build it up slowly, and then use circular motions to get a nice even blend. I'm then also grabbing some yellow and I'm just applying a hint of this above the pink just to give it a bit more variation. And then before getting any further, I then grabbed some white SFX Creme colour and I'm just sharpening and defining the brow whilst also creating slight highlight. I'm packing on some blue on the rest of my eyelid. I'm then feathering the eyeshadow so it goes into like an upwards flick, which kind of follows the same shape as the cut crease you created earlier. Taking some white eyeliner, I'm just going to apply this in between the pink and the blue that I created. I'm then also applying this underneath my eye, and then grabbing some black eyeliner, I'm just going to start creating a wing. Using the black, I've also outlined the white that I created underneath my eye, and as you can see, I've also created a point on the inner corner of my eye. So use the black to kind of join everything all together, and then once you're happy with that, you can create your wing. Grabbing some white, I'm just applying this on the edges of the sections. This is going to create a bit more of a realistic feel and make them look a little bit more raised. A good technique for this is to use a big brush that has a flat head. Grabbing some eyeshadow, I'm just applying a small amount on the outer edge of a section, but not touching the red areas. I'm applying a black along the jawline just to create the illusion that my jawline's a lot more sharp than it actually is. And then I'm just basically repeating the same steps all throughout, so I'm applying a little bit of white on the edges, and then before even finishing that, I'm moving on to creating some shadow inside the red sections. I know this tutorial is all over the place, I'm really sorry about that, but I like to work in the most random orders. So I'm grabbing some black this time and a small tiny little brush, and I'm just going to apply this on the edges of the red sections. This is going to create the illusion that they're behind the skin, and you want the black to be more intense as it goes towards the edge and then fade out as it goes towards the centre. Now we are going to do the absolute opposite of what we were just doing. We are now going to apply some white on the more central areas of the red. And then of course you want to repeat the same steps through all the red sections. So I'm just grabbing some more eyeshadow and I'm just applying this on the outer edges of some of the sections, not touching the edges. Moving on to the more normal side of my face, I'm grabbing an eyebrow pencil and I'm just going to simply fill in my eyebrow. I'm then grabbing some concealer and I'm just going to highlight underneath my brow bone and really sharpen up my brow. And then grabbing some foundation, I'm using the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop for this. You want to apply this onto the visible skin that is showing. I'm using a beauty blender to apply this. And then grabbing some eyeshadow and then priming your eye. You want to create a pretty eye. It's completely up to you what you do. You can create all kinds of looks. I decided to go for nude and a more kind of casual look because I wanted this to contrast with the crazy side, which is the Frankenbabe. But of course I stuck to my usual cut crease. I absolutely love creating cut creases. So I'm just repeating kind of the same steps again, but instead just with a nude. Grabbing the NYX Machinist Lip Lacquer in Steam or whatever colour you wish, I'm going to apply this onto my lips. Grabbing some eyeliner, I'm creating this line coming from the corner of my lips and it kind of goes from thick to thin. Moving on to the body, so we are going to basically do exactly the same things again. So start creating the sections and I'm using my finger and just play around and experiment, see what works and what doesn't, start creating variations of different shapes, colours and sizes. As you can see, I've gone for yellows, greens and pink, but the only difference is to leave a section for the mouth that we are about to create. Grabbing a brush with a flat head and some white, I'm starting to create the teeth. Very simple and easy, just triangles. They're just basically white triangles, and let's not worry about detail or anything like that too much just yet. And then for the rest of the mouth, you want to fill this in black. This is going to be the parts that will disappear into the background. Moving on to the shadow, I'm just grabbing a brown eyeshadow and I'm just going to apply this on the edges and the bottoms of the teeth. And as you can see, I'm using a piece of tissue to guide me and create a straight line and also not get the eyeshadow onto my body as well. So you want to use small little tiny brush strokes and only apply a tiny little product amount each time, and you want to kind of swipe it up onto the tooth. And then for the top teeth, you want to swipe it down. I'm then just grabbing some black eyeshadow and an angled brush and I'm just going to run along the lines of the mouth. And then the same as you did on your face, you want to separate the sections with the red. And then once again, grabbing some white, I'm just going to apply this on the edges of the sections. I didn't actually do this on the face and this isn't necessary, but I'm just grabbing some setting powder and I'm just setting the chest. This is so that it's not too sticky for when I apply the eyeshadow. So once again, I'm just applying different eyeshadow colours on the edges, but making sure they don't touch the red sections. And then for this particular section, I decided to use a red, and this is just again going to create more variation, make it a bit more interesting and different. And then for the section on my shoulder, I'm grabbing some blue this time as well. And then grabbing some white, I'm just going to dab this on the central areas of the pieces to create highlight. And I think you get the idea now. I'm just grabbing some black and I'm applying this onto the red sections. For the stitches, I'm grabbing some white and it's very simple and easy. They're just literally lines going across the red lines. Some are going to be single stitches and some stitches are going to be crossed over like an X. Now I'm just creating some circles on the sides of the white lines, and this is going to create the illusion that they are coming in and out of holes. And then I'm also adding a tiny hint of shadow on the lines. This is just going to make them look a bit more 3D and realistic. This is very time consuming. And then for some extra little added details and the cherry on top of the cake, as I like to say, I'm just creating small circles on some of the sections. My really special, expensive, high quality tool that I'm using to achieve this is a bent destroyed hair grip. And then using a fine brush, I'm just adding some lines on some of the sections. Of course, do exactly the same on your face. And that is how you be Frankenbabe. Thanks and goodbye. No, I'm just kidding, we're not done yet. We are going to shave the side of our head. Obviously you don't have to do this, like don't shave your head just to create a brain, okay? But I'm just gonna go ahead and shave the side of my head. Aha, go ahead, lol. Anyway, and then before getting any further with that, I'm just applying some eyelashes. As you can see, I've gone for some really big dramatic eyelashes for the Frankenbabe side, and for the more normal eye, I've gone for some more normal eyelashes. Anyway, moving on to the side of my head, I'm just applying a pink using my fingers once again, and then I'm applying some white on the central areas to create some highlight, and then we are going to start creating a brain. Taking a fine brush and some black, I'm just creating some wibbly wobbly wiggly lines, and then grabbing some white, I'm just going to create some highlights on some areas of the brain. For the final touch-ups, I'm grabbing some highlight, and you are going to apply this onto your brow bone and your cheekbone. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way through. You know who you are and I really appreciate you. If you'd like to see much more of this kind of content, then I will be posting much more on my Instagram at gothspectrum. If you like this look, give it a thumbs up and also hit the subscribe button. Thank you once again and I'll see you next time. Bye guys!